Hey guys, it's 𝗪𝗏 back with another video. How's everyone doing? I'm doing pretty good. I have a comment here that I'm going to read for you guys that ties into the title of this video. What I'm going to talk about a little bit has to do with facing problems from the past in relationships. And this gal who's writing me, she's written before. She's a longtime viewer of my channel. Hi, Zena, ZZ. This was left a few days ago, and I saw it, and I've been mulling it over for a few days, actually. And I've been kind of thinking about it, and, you know, I have some things to say about it. And I actually think it's a good comment because this is probably something that a lot of you out there are going to be thinking about, or are thinking about, or worried about, or trying to do something similar, okay? So let me just read her comment and get into it, and then we'll kind of talk about it, and I'll touch on some of the points of it. First of all, you are amazing. That's always going to get your comment read in a video, by the way, people. No, I'm kidding. Thank you, ZZ. I have one question for you. How do I deal with past arguments that cause things to go downwards for me and my specific person? I tried with the revision technique. Now, the revision technique is something whereby you can use this technique to change the past, so to speak, or at least that is kind of the how it's advertised, I want to say, or how it's sort of played up. Is this is you can revise the past or past events that weren't pleasing for you. You can sort of change them because, again, this ties into the idea of parallel realities, right? So switching to a reality basically where the argument or the problem or whatever it is you're concerned about, whatever it is you want to change about the past never occurred or was never really an issue, right? So that you can use this revision technique to kind of visualize backwards to the time when the event or incident or argument occurred and change how it actually turned out, right, in your mind. In other words, visualizing it and really being there. So that's sort of those are the cliff notes on the revision technique. I might do a separate video on it in the future, but maybe not, considering what you're going to hear me say about it here in a minute. Let's see here. So she tried the revision technique, but I can't seem to simply erase the memory or change it. Since my specific person and I recently talked about it again, and he admitted he was disappointed in me when we had the argument, and I behaved in a way that I would never. He said he doesn't give second chances. I tried to manifest him change and all, but I think I need to deal with that scene first. So here's what I want to say about this, okay? Why is this revision technique not working for you? Because when you have something from the past, let's say an argument that you guys had, and you're thinking about it a lot, you're giving it a lot of attention, you're talking about it, what happens? You're keeping that quote-unquote problem alive. You're feeding it with your attention, your focus, your energy, okay? And this really comes down to, and this is why I'm not a huge fan of revision, of the technique. I'm not saying it can't work. I think it does work but you really need to commit yourself to it. This is not like a simple technique. You have to really commit yourself to it. You have to really kind of be on focus with it consistently enough. And so I think a lot of people are going to find it very difficult to do. But secondly, what I want to say is that I'm not a huge fan of it because, you know, I'm of the school of thought that if you keep something alive with your attention, in other words, even when you fight against something, even when you try to solve a problem or a perceived problem, what you're actually doing is you're keeping it active in your awareness, right? And anything that we perceive as a problem, really the best way to use manifesting techniques and law of attraction to deal with supposed problems is to really spend as little time thinking about them, talking about them, certainly not spending any time trying to undo them, right? Trying to undo events from the past so that you can somehow move forward with a manifestation that you're interested in now. I just don't recommend doing that. And I don't think it's really a great way to go about things because, again, what you're doing is you're activating the problem, right? You're keeping it active the more attention and focus you put on something. It's like feeding it energetically. Basically, you're taking the little seedling of this argument that you had with your specific person in the past and you're watering it, when in fact what you're trying to do is kind of kill it, right, before it grows into a tree or whatever, but you're actually watering it. You're giving it light, you're giving it food, you're giving it water, you're giving it attention, okay? You're feeding it energy. So it really has no other way to go but to grow, all right, to grow bigger in your mind. And that's why you're seeing manifestations coming around where your specific person is still upset about the argument, because you're making an issue out of it. Okay, you're making an issue out of it with your focus upon it. So often trying to fight against something is actually having the opposite effect of what you want, which is to get rid of the thing, right? Basically, the best way to get rid of it is to just not give it any more attention. All right, and that's to say, even not giving it any more attention in terms of trying to solve it or undo it. All right. Now I know it's difficult to do that, especially when our meat computers, our monkey minds, want to constantly take over the wheel and solve problems, because that's how we've been conditioned to do things in life, is to solve problems endlessly, right? And this is, I mean, when we think about manifesting and what we're trying to do here is we're really wanting to recruit the universe as an ally here to help us get to where we want to be as easily and as efficiently and as effectively as possible, okay? We want the path of least resistance. Okay, this is something that I think somebody asked Mother Teresa some years ago, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'm not even sure it was her, but I remember hearing this years ago, and I think it went something like, she was asked by a journalist, "Why don't you ever go to anti-war rallies?" Right, and her simple answer was, "Because I don't like war, but I like peace. So if you ever have a pro-peace rally, then I will go to it." You see? So that's an interesting distinction, isn't it? What did she mean by that? I think she was aware of the fact that if she were to run around shouting, "I hate war, stop war, stop war, stop war," what she's actually doing is giving her focus to war, to the idea of war, to the energy of war, okay? But if she were to be a proponent of something opposite of war, which is peace, then that thing would grow in her awareness of it, at least, you see? So basically what you want to do is take your attention off things you don't like, that you're against, so to speak, or that you want to change, and think of the opposite condition and then put your focus upon that. Okay, that's a much simpler way to go about things than trying to undo the thing from the past. Because what you're still doing here, Xena, is you're still trying to solve this, or somehow in your mind rescue this old relationship that you had with this person. And what you're doing now is you're manifesting a brand new relationship. Okay, and I keep saying this because it's important to understand and grasp when you're trying to and wanting to manifest a specific person in your life, especially if it's an ex, someone you have a history with, okay? So many people out there take it from that angle where they go, well, I want to fix or pick things up where we left off, or I want to fix what went wrong, so I want to go back and do things like revision or whatever it is to try to fix the thing that went wrong. But really what you're doing, again, is just activating that old relationship, okay? You have to be okay with the idea that the relationship is gone. Not the person necessarily, okay? You want the person back, but you don't want that old relationship back. Something was wrong with it, something didn't go right, so why would you want that old condition back? What you're doing now is taking the time in between the two relationships with the same person and using that time to work on yourself, okay? Using that time to work on whatever issues you had going on, whatever obstacles internally, whatever resistance and stumbling blocks you had going on, and whatever limiting beliefs you had going on. And oftentimes what it is low self-esteem or a lack of self-appreciation or self-respect or self-love. And you want to work on that in the time that the sort of new relationship that you're manifesting with that person now is coming into fruition. It's being put together. Basically what you're doing in that time is you're putting your focus on creating a whole new kind of dynamic between the two of you, right? A whole new kind of relationship. And believe me, that is a much better allocation of your energy and your focus than trying to go back to the past and change something that happened, I don't know, a couple of months even ago, or several years ago, certainly, okay? So that's why I personally I'm not a proponent of revision. I'm not saying it doesn't work. And I'm not saying people haven't made it work. I'm pretty sure they have. But again, it takes a lot of dedication to do that, and a lot of energy and a lot of focus to do that. And you got to ask yourself, is that really a good allocation of my energy and focus, right? Because what would be easier? What's the path of least resistance? is the path of least resistance here to change the past and try to rescue the past relationship, which is already kind of gone, right? Or is the path of least resistance to just focus on building a brand new relationship with the same person and working on yourself in the meantime so that these past issues don't repeat themselves, right? You see what I'm saying? So that's really, and also I want to say, you know, when you say something like, let's see, I said to him that my behavior that night was kind of subconscious. Wait a minute, no, I lost my place. Oh, I've tried to manifest him changing and all, but I think I need to deal with that scene first. So, okay, so now there's a lot of stuff going on in that statement right there, just that one sentence, okay? First of all, I've tried to manifest him changing, okay? So what do I always say? You can't change them. Don't try to change them. This isn't about changing them or the circumstance or anything that happens on the outside. And even when you're doing the revision part, Zena, and going back to the past and trying to undo an argument that happened that you think led you down the road of breaking up or whatever occurred, then really, again, you're sort of looking at the outside circumstance to change so that you can have the manifestation that you want. But really, again, it's looking at things backwards, the wrong way around, okay? And this is what we do time and time again because, again, we're used to doing that, okay? But we have to look at it from a different angle now. Your physical reality is nothing but a reflection of your internal state, beliefs, expectations, thoughts, deeds, and words, okay? So that's what you need to change, all right? You don't walk up to the mirror with a frown on and expect the image in the mirror to smile back at you, right? It doesn't work that way. I mean, if you actually tried to do that with a mirror, you'd probably feel kind of goofy. Well, think of your physical third-dimensional reality as being just that, a third-dimensional mirror, okay? So if you go up to it and be like, well, I need to, you know, need this circumstance to change, this outside external circumstance to change in my physical reality, this condition to change before I can go ahead and manifest something better with this person, then you're doing things a little bit ass backwards, right? This is never about changing him or them or the condition or the circumstance. It's about changing yourself, making the adjustment inside yourself. And that means taking a look at why the argument occurred. You can do that, okay? You can take a look at what you think maybe at that time when you say something like, hey, you know, that wasn't me. That's not the way I usually react to situations. So what was the trigger for it? And when you kind of look at that and identify that then you can see where you might have a limiting belief. And then you can begin to introduce the opposite of that limiting belief and begin to practice and affirm the opposite of that limiting belief, okay? That would be a very worthwhile way to go about it, okay? So that you don't repeat those kinds of things. Because here's the thing, when you try to go back to the old relationship, you know, and you're bringing that stuff into the new relationship, it's going to be the same outcome or a similar outcome, or just as frustrating and short-lived and dramatic and whatever else happened, okay? So you want to be looking at things in terms of, I'm not changing him, I'm not changing the circumstance, I am the one that has to make the internal change, and as I make my internal change, the external reality begins to shift accordingly and begins to synchronize with my internal shift. You see what I'm saying? Not I have to change the external thing so that I can then somehow synchronize with it. You need to change, and then it will sync up with you, with your change, with the way you've shifted internally, okay? A little tongue-tied today. So that's, okay, so that's the first thing about that sentence. Now the second thing, and I see a lot of people doing this, and I've done it, okay, is where you say, well, I need to deal with this scene first. I need to deal with this condition first and change it so that I can go ahead and have the kind of relationship that I now want with him. And what's going on here, of course, is you're trying to micromanage, okay? You're trying to do the job of the universe, right? And I know it's difficult. I know, see, we have to catch ourselves in these patterns that we've been trained into and we've trained ourselves into. We want to take over the wheel. The ego wants to take over the wheel, all right? And a big part of this is really putting trust in the process of it. And when I say trust, I mean, you know, the letting go of it and going, look, I put the vision for what I want now out there, and it's already a condition that's been created. It already exists out there in that field of limitless or endless possibilities, okay? Now all I have to do is make the change, the shift on the inside to synchronize, to sync up with that, right? So here's the thing. But if you, here's the thing. You're trying to do every step of the way, though. It's like saying, I used to have a friend that used to say this. He really wanted to date and get back into dating, but he didn't feel he had money to date, So he was like, well, I need money first so that I can then date women and all this kind of stuff, okay? And I'm like, well, listen, you're thinking you need to take care of every little condition, right? Like, hey, okay, I'm gonna manifest a text, so then and once I get a text from them, I can manifest a date, and then once I get a date with them, I can manifest a kiss, and once I get a kiss with them, then I can manifest sleeping with them, and then once I sleep with them, then I can manifest them falling in love with me, yada, 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 all down the line, right? Well, this is not, you might be able to get away with that for a little while, and you might be able to make some kind of progress and forward movement with that for a little while, but ultimately, is that really the path of least resistance? Ask yourself all the time in any given situation in your life. You have 2 choices, 3 choices. Which is the path of least resistance here? Okay? The path of least resistance with manifesting, and this is why we're doing this stuff, because you don't really want to get involved in the process. The only thing that you really need to focus on is the what and the why. What is it you want? Why do you want it? That's it, okay? And when I say, what is it you want? Okay, yes, I want a relationship with this person. Why do you want it? In other words, how do you want to feel in that relationship? Or how do you anticipate you're going to feel when you're in that situation? Okay, that's what you're really after. So then once you identify the feeling state that you're after, then you focus on that, on feeling that way as much and as often as possible. Okay, and you don't necessarily have to do it in terms of focusing on them. You can find that kind of feeling in any area of your life. All right, if it's a feeling of being loved and adored that you're after, then consider all the areas in your life where you already have access to that feeling and that condition. Your puppy loves and adores you. Maybe your kids love and adore you, okay? Your parents love and adore you. Your friends love and adore you. Maybe you have a boss that really loves your work that you do, that praises you all the time. Strangers on the street, when they smile at you or when they pass you by in traffic, that's another form of love and appreciation and respect, okay? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, all right? That's the kind of stuff you want to be putting your attention on, okay? So, and not this sort of, I need this condition to change first and I need to manage and micromanage every step of the process, because that's the universe's job. That's why we're doing this whole manifesting thing, so that you don't really ever have to do any of that, okay? And when an action is required of you, you'll know. You'll know when to take it, what action to take by the way it feels. If it feels easy, if it feels like the natural next thing to do, then you go ahead and do it. And then you do it, and then you just go back to whatever else you were doing, okay? And then just let that be the thing that you needed to do in that moment in order to further things, and then just let the universe take over again, all right? That's really all you ever need to do. So I would say in this case, look, if you're going to do anything and put your attention in any kind of direction here with this situation, I would recommend this. You visualize not on changing the past argument, okay, or on changing him, certainly not, and certainly not like, I need to fix this thing first so that I can move forward. In your visualizing, simply create a scene where it's already done. It's already a done deal. You've already talked about it. You've hashed it out. He's forgiven you. All that stuff is already in the past. Okay. So, and I'm going to do a video about this in the future regarding a future journal. And I think that's a very important thing to get into. You want to go to future events where the thing that you want is already a done deal. If you're going to visualize and do scenes, and this is very much a Goddard thing, right? You don't have to go back and dig around in the past and try to undo something that happened. Again, I'm not saying you can't do it or that's impossible, but it takes a great deal of focus and energy. It is certainly not the path of least resistance. Go in your mind to a place where you guys are back together, where you're talking about the art. Maybe you're talking about it. Maybe it's 2 years down the road, okay? You guys have been together for 2 years again. And maybe you mention, remember that argument that we had? And then you both just kind of laugh about it. Oh God, yeah, that was so stupid. We were such different people back then. That's a way that you could maybe sort of move past this block that you're having, okay? Because you're thinking it's his block. You're thinking it's him who can't forgive you or something, or can't move on from the argument. But really, you're the one who's not moving on from the argument. And as you're the one who's not moving on from the argument by trying to fix it and go back and keep feeding it with attention and energy and focus, he's coming back, reflecting back to you in a way that matches that, you see? The moment you forget about the argument, the moment you don't make it a big deal anymore, the moment you move past all of it already being resolved in your mind, he won't talk about it anymore either. It probably won't even be a thing that will be active in him in any way, okay? Try it out and see. I mean, try it out with something small, all right? Something you don't have so much resistance about. I mean, if you're going to go the revision past, try to change an event maybe that wasn't so emotionally taxing or draining or so dramatic, right? And see, you can see and prove to yourself that it can be done. But again, if you're going to go for it in this sense of this sort of very dramatic event that you want to change and doing it because you're basically using it as an excuse to not move forward, or you're using it as an obstacle when really it doesn't have to be an obstacle at all, okay? You're thinking I have to move this obstacle first out of the road so I can keep walking down the road. You don't have to move any obstacle. You can go around it, you can go over it, you can go under it, or you can just ignore it and poof, there's no obstacle. And sometimes that's what happens. We don't think about a thing for a while and then suddenly it's not a problem anymore. Well, it never was really a problem to begin with. Maybe there's no obstacle there at all and you're just making one up, right? And that happens a lot as well. Okay, so my suggestion for you here is, you know, and all you guys out there that have situations similar to what 𝗙ecie is saying, you know, I wouldn't recommend at this point trying to revise or go back in the past or trying to undo things. Move yourself to a point where the thing doesn't exist. It's no longer an issue. It's no longer a problem. And then you will bring that into the now. Because really what you're doing, when you're thinking about the past, you're doing it now. Right? So that's another way to look at it. Okay? When you're focusing on something in the past, you're not doing it in the past. You're doing it in the now, in the current moment, which is the only moment that ever really exists. And as you're doing it in the moment, you're actually activating it for future moments, for future manifestations. So you're going to keep that thing alive, or you're going to create more arguments in the future, because your thing is about arguments. Your focus is on arguments. Even if you're trying to undo an argument or change an argument from the past, you're still focusing on the idea of an argument. You still have the mindset of there's an argument, there's a problem, there's an obstacle, okay? Move past the obstacle. Just move right past it in your mind. Just decide right now and intend right now, it's not an issue. I'm not going to make it an issue. And since it's not an issue, I don't need to talk about it anymore. I don't need to think about it anymore. I don't need to bring it up with him anymore. I don't need to focus on it. I don't need to change anything about it. All I need to do is focus on what it is I want now for the future, okay? So I hope that helps you, Zena, and all you guys out there. I appreciate the comment and the question, and I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate all my awesome subscribers. You guys were cool, leaving such cool comments on that podcast episode, by the way. And Laura was awesome. She's been awesome in answering you guys' questions. So thanks for all that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so now. You know where it is. You know how YouTube works, right? If you want some coaching with me, all that stuff is in the description box. If you want, I said it correctly this time. I didn't say subscription box. I'm going to say it now probably. If you want to leave me a tip, that's always appreciated. There's a couple little tip jars, Cash App and PayPal down below as well. And also, please find a link for the Facebook group and join some cool people over there, like-minded people who are supporting each other and talking to each other and learning from each other. All right? And there's never anything wrong with that. So thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, I'm Tarkan. Happy manifesting. Bye-bye.